Last spring, I shared that you can, in fact, make a whole frozen roast in an oven. And today I'm going to share how you can do the same thing with a whole frozen chicken. No Instant Pot needed, just your plain old kitchen oven. I'm using an organic chicken from Costco. It's not farm fresh, obviously. It's not that fancy, but either way, when you do this, make sure if your chicken is frozen, which it is today, you can cook it as it is without needing to remove a plastic bag inside. This one happens to have a paper bag, which a lot of them do, and that is okay to cook in it. Just want to keep the plastic out. It's impossible to get frozen bags out of a frozen chicken, right? So we want to make sure it's okay when we get it. Some chickens also come with the bags not inside of them. So either way, you just want to make sure you don't cook that. The first thing to do is to preheat your Dutch oven in the oven to 425 degrees. And while you're preheating, you place your chicken in cool water for about 20 minutes, turning it once, just to thaw the very outside of the chicken. And it also makes it possible to remove any padding that might be stuck to the bird, as I had on this bird. After about 20 minutes, I'm going to pour out the water and then pat dry the bird. Then it's time to add the seasoning. My go-to is either just plain salt, pepper, and paprika. I also like taco seasoning. I think that one is a really great go-to seasoning. Or I also like to use the venison rub, which this is not venison, but it's a great sweet and savory combo. And you can find the recipe on the website. It's great for venison, and it's great for chicken, and it's great for beef. So many different meats it's good for. Remember, you can find the complete recipe for this also on the website, Hilltop in the Valley. And you can print it out there. You can see any other notes, all of that good stuff. At this point, I take out the hot Dutch oven and I'm going to fry butter in the bottom of it. And now I'm going to fry the chicken on both sides for about 1 minute on either side. I don't want to do too much with this because I'm not heating it while I'm frying it. So it's actually going to get cooler after that first side. So that's just a note that the side that you're wanting to be the most roasted, fry that side first. So this is one reason I love using the Dutch oven. It's in all-in-one dish. I don't have to dirty another skillet by roasting the chicken in that. I can actually just do it all in the Dutch oven. It's going to add great flavor, that little bit of roasted flavor. I love that. This also is going to help it to get that great roasted flavor because when you're inside of the Dutch oven, it's holding in the moisture, but you're not really gonna be like having that dry roasted flavor added to it until the very end when we take the lid off. Lastly, I add a 1/4 cup of water right around the chicken. Be careful not to pour it over the seasoning on the chicken and wash off the seasoning. And then I cover it with the lid. We're gonna cook this for 1 hour. And then at this point, you'll want your meat thermometer ready. It goes into the thickest part of the bird, so into that breast part, and you don't want it to be against any of the bones or anything. My chicken isn't quite to the 165 Fahrenheit level that I want it. And so I am going to see how high it is. And for every minute that I need to get to that 165-degree point, I am going to cook the bird for another minute to maybe 3 minutes. For example, If the bird is at 125 degrees Fahrenheit, I am going to need to cook it for, what is that, 40 more degrees. So 40 more minutes at least. It could be more, but it's going to be at least about 40 minutes more. So it could be about 40 to 50 minutes for that. Also, it will change depending on the size of the bird. It will change depending on the vegetables that you're putting in with it. It all depends on a lot of different things. This recipe is great because you can actually change the timing according to what your bird is needing. Whereas if you're doing something like in an Instant Pot, it's a lot harder to do that. You have more of a basic time for everything you're putting in, no matter the size. This is also the time to add in vegetables if you're using them, and make sure that they aren't too big. I like to go right around 2 inches thickness or less so that they actually do cook thoroughly. And then return it to the oven without the lid. The nice thing about this recipe is that even if you go over that 165 degree Fahrenheit level, generally if you're not too far above it, it actually does not make the bird more dry. I do like to aim for a little bit higher than that just to make sure I am getting the very, very inner part of that bird cooked, because it was from frozen, and so I don't always just depend on the thermometer. I like to go a little bit higher than that, and honestly it has never caused the bird to be dry for me. So this one I took out and it was still needing some more time. So I do that same thing. I look at how high it is and how high it needs to be. So at this point, I think it was closer to like 155, 160, somewhere around there. And so I just put it back in the oven for about 15 or 20 minutes. This is a great meal because it is an all-in-one meal, meaning you don't really have to make anything else with it. And you could start it in the afternoon, and it's so hands-off that it's quick to get in, and then all you have to do is check on it in that hour and put it back in, and then bring it back out, whatever it is, you know, a half an hour later, 40 minutes later, and it is done and ready for dinner. This chicken took me right around an hour and 40 minutes, I believe. It will vary depending on the vegetables you're using and that sort of thing, but my vegetables all cooked thoroughly. They were perfectly cooked, actually. It was great. And my entire family did love the texture and flavor of this. Sometimes chicken just, it gets too broken down. Sometimes it's a little dry, but we have found that these frozen oven roasted chickens are so moist and tender and juicy. And then the outside still gets that little bit of roast that you've come to love. So this is a really great recipe, especially if you are not good, as I am, about thawing out your meat. So I thought I would finish this video on making your frozen whole chicken in my pantry because I just got this new shelving, whatever you want to call it, shelving unit made. My husband made this for me for a birthday. I think it was last year. I don't know. It's been in the works, and he finally finished this. It is so beautiful, and so I just thought it would be a great backdrop. But you might have noticed when I finished my chicken, I had some beautiful vegetables there, but I did not have any bread, and you know how much I like bread, so I thought I'd give you a couple ideas. I use Einkorn flour, which is an ancient grain. It has a great texture, but it does have some issues sometimes rising, and so I like to give you guys ideas for how to make really good Einkorn bread. My first idea is to look to using my Farmhouse buttermilk biscuit recipe, which is probably one, if not the favorite recipe of my family to go with our meals. We love eating these buttermilk biscuits alone. We love having them with dinners, with lunch, trying to make sandwiches from them. They are just so rich and buttery, and they have a really great flaky rise when you fold the dough. That is a great one to add to this. Another really good one is my beginner sourdough recipe. This uses the Einkorn flour, and it also gives you tips for how to make sure you're getting a good rise. You can look on the blog for each of these recipes, and don't forget that you can look on the blog for this frozen whole chicken roast recipe as well. And on the blog, I can update things, whereas when you're watching videos, I can't always update things if I decide to change something for the better with the recipe. So it's always great to look back to the website. You can also print off the recipe there. Thank you guys for hanging out. It is so fun to do these videos for you, and I'd love to hear how this recipe goes for you. If you guys have a special side you like to eat with your roast chicken, share that. And I am so excited because next up comes the holidays, and I cannot wait to come back and share with you guys again soon. See you later.